Building a Tenor Guitar Part 6 at randallprice.com. Next I'll join the two pieces that make up the back of the guitar. And these are the two book matched pieces that I cut out in the previous part of this vlog series. And these pieces are pretty straight on the two edges that need to meet. However, when I hold this up to the light, I can see a little bit of daylight in that joint. So I will take these over to the joiner and make one or two passes through the joiner and see if I can improve this joint just a little bit. I ran my two pieces through the joiner and got them about as good as I could on the joiner. The edges were a little bit rough. So what I did is took the two faces that are going to make up the outer surface of the back, folded them over together. I put a piece of sandpaper on my joiner bed. This is just a piece of plywood with magnets on it. Hold the sandpaper in place, and I've gently ran that across the sandpaper, checking periodically, putting the two pieces together. It's hard to do right here, but basically putting the two pieces together, holding them up to a light and looking for any daylight in the joint. I was touching at both ends, and I saw a little bit of daylight in the middle, so I just gently worked both ends on the sandpaper. I kept checking the joint until I got to the point where it was perfectly smooth. I take the pass across the sandpaper, and I did not see any daylight. I'll take this over on the workbench and lay it out so you can see the joint. So here are the two halves on the workbench, and I think you can see when I bring the two halves together, bring them together, you can't see the joint. It's a very tight joint. When I hold that up to the light, I don't see any daylight in that joint, so I'm ready to glue this up. To glue these two pieces together, I'm making a taped glue joint. What I've done is take the two pieces and laid my good face down, so the face that's facing up now will be on the inside of the guitar, and I've just put a piece of tape down, pulled the two sides together, and stretched this tape so I have some tension on the tape. You can see already this is kind of wanting to pull the two pieces up. What I'll do is turn this over. I'll put glue in this joint, and then I will press the piece of wood down. I'll put some weight on here to keep these two pieces together, and just the tension of that tape will hold the joint together. Just fold this up. Doesn't need to be clamped too tightly, just enough to hold the two walnut pieces in alignment. I just want to add something heavy in the middle to hold it there. And what better than an anvil? And I'll just leave that to dry. The glue should be pretty well dried on the back, so I'll take it out of my clamping setup. Just slip a putty knife under there to help that. wanted to get this out so I can get this off so I can scrape some of this glue off while it's still a little bit soft. And I'll let it dry, let the glue dry fully. After a little sanding, I got most of the glue off the back, and that's what it looks like. Pretty good glue joint there. This is the Sitka spruce that I bought for the soundboard or the top of the guitar, and I purchased this from a Lutherie supply company, and I'll have to do a similar operation with this as I did with the back. I'll have to get these edges jointed, so I got a good tight joint there. It's not bad right now, but it needs a little bit more refinement, and I'll glue this together. But unlike the back where I used the tape method to join the two pieces together, I'll have to clamp these because the Sitka spruce is too soft. If I tried to put tape across the surface of it, I'd get pretty bad fiber pull out from the surface. So I need to clamp it rather than tape it. And what I've been doing here is just laying it out different orientations, see what layout I like best. I could put it this way, or I could put it this way, keeping the book matched size together so you have a mirror image. I think I'll go with this orientation. Typically you want the smallest growth rings towards the center, which is what I have here. Very small growth rings here, and they get wider as they go out to the sides. So I think this is the orientation that I'll use. And just looking at this, the joint is fairly tight, so I don't even know that I'll need to run this through the jointer. I'll probably just sand the two jointed edges until I don't see any daylight in between those, and then I'll show you the clamping setup that I'm going to use to glue those two sides together. Okay, this is the clamping jig to glue the top together. And I don't have glue on here right now, but I'll explain it now because I won't have time to do that as I'm gluing up. What I've done is taken this same piece of wood that I used for the back. It's a melamine covered particle board as a base. I've elevated it a little bit so I can get some clamps under it. I put one board over here and clamped it for this side of the top to butt against. The other side of the top will come in right here. On this side I've just clamped a couple stop blocks, and I have two wedges that I made. And what I'll do is clamp this piece of oak tightly to this half of the top so it won't lift. I'll clamp this side of it to this side of the top loosely, and then I'll be able to take a hammer and gently tap in my wedges to put pressure on that joint to clamp it together. And I'll tighten these down a little bit, and by tight, none of these are going to be extremely tight. I don't need a lot of clamping pressure, and I don't need a lot of downward pressure on this top. This Sitka spruce is fairly soft, and it will dent if I clamp it too hard, and also I have to be careful not to get any dirt or grit under these boards because they'll make impressions in the top as well. So I'll take these back off, put some glue in that joint, and clamp it up. That looks good, and I'll let that dry. Here's just a little bit closer look at that glue joint. The soundboard is dry, so I'll take it out of the clamping jig. So here's the top, and the only issue that I see I had with the top, that even though I had that board clamped on there, it's still raised a little bit right here. This side is slightly higher than that side, but that's okay because this top is much thicker than what I need. It's a little over 13 thousandths of an inch thick, and I need it to be between 8 and 9 thousandths. So I'm going to run this top through the thickness sander to bring it down to the thickness that I need. And when I do that, that'll eliminate that little ridge right there. So other than that, the top glue up came out just fine. So here's the top after I run it through the thickness sander. Got a nice joint right there. Nice, tight, smooth. Right down to the thickness that I need. For woodworking plans, tips, and techniques, visit randoprice.com.